Every time I try to leave, something keeps pulling me back, telling me I need you in my life. Every time I...
Shout out to Tyrese and Chingy. That's actually a dope song, man. I always tell people, everybody got one joint, though. You know what I'm saying? People, I know Chingy and a couple rappers from, that era, a lot of people have jokes, as it relates to them. They're usually the butt of a lot of jokes, pause, just in case. They're usually a butt of a lot of jokes. But, everybody's got one joint. That's my theory. I don't care who you are. You can be Britney Spears. You can be Chingy. I don't care. You got one joint that I'm like, you know what? That one was hard. This specifically, not to say that Chingy, excuse me. Paul, damn, that sounds crazy. Not to say that Chingy is only had one song, but this song in particular, I love this joint with him and Tyrese. So shout out to Chingy. Why did I open up playing this song? Because every time I try to abandon this rap beef and all this other shit, y'all keep pulling me back. You guys flooded my comments on my Instagram. Make sure y'all follow me on Instagram. I pay attention to the comments, but I'm really more locked in on Instagram. It's just easier to organize comments, and it's just easier for me to respond back to people as well on Instagram. I just like the privacy of it in the DMs and going back and forth with people. I actually enjoy doing that. So make sure you follow me on Instagram. I know it's not shit on my Instagram right now. Give me some time to get used to posting stuff there, and on my TikTok as well. I'm going to get that going, but just give me some time. Follow me on those platforms. But yeah, man, a lot of requests came through for this CyHi joint. I heard he went crazy though. So CyHi is extremely nice. Extremely. And he always has been. Let's get to it, man. I know what's going on. I know that he's saying that he wasn't going at J. Cole, but he had a little comment about J. Cole and, college kids. He didn't say this specifically. I'm not quoting him exactly, but something along the lines of, these dudes that's rapping nowadays just look like they went to college and they just know how to make words sound good, but they don't really have that street foundation. So it just feels weak to him. I don't know, whatever. He just doesn't like the new school, new age of rap, right? And there's a lot of controversy surrounding that. And then, J. Cole's fans got at him. And then because J. Cole's fans got at him in conjunction with him feeling a way about J. Cole's False Prophet song, CyHi is now here saying, you know what? You know what I'm saying? I guess. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I got something to talk about. You know what I'm saying? So let's see what is going on with, what is this? CyHi, B.R.A. lost control. What's B.R.A.? Bruh lost control? I don't know. I got to think about that. But let's get into it, man. CyHi, B.R.A. lost control.
Yeah. Hey, bro, can you let your people know you not fucking with me? Cause them thinking you is fucking with me. I could never fall off.
Okay. So he said, can you let your little minions know that you can't do nothing with me lyrically, is what CyHi is saying. Because them thinking that you can fuck with me is making me angry. Right? All right, that's kind of what influenced why CyHi is here right now. The mere thought that your minions think that you on my level is angry, is messing with me, man. So I thought that was dope. Then he said I could never fall off. So he's referencing, obviously, J. Cole's The Fall Off. And I always said J. Cole using that. If you ever got into a battle post dropping The Fall Off, that's easy pickings for like battle rap lines and say like The Fall Off. And you fell off, of course. You know what I'm saying? The irony of it. And I know J. Cole even addressed that even on the album. But from a battle rap perspective, you can have fun with The Fall Off. But anyways, let me get back to it.
I could never fall off.
Let me get comfortable.
Yeah. Can you hear me? I've been hearing a lot of niggas claim the best rapper alive. Two things can be true, that's a factual lie. I'm that actual guy with a capital Y. Flow slicker than a nigga with the patch on his eye. Scared of our good brother in that Grand National. Why? Shoulda knew you and that La Honda was gonna have to collide. Let's take this magic.
What do you say? We pull that back. Hold on, Grand National. First of all, slicker than the dude with the patch on his eyes, referencing Slick Rick, right? Slick Rick, the OG, man, you know what I'm saying? Legendary rapper, known for wearing a patch on his eye, Slick Rick. And then he said something before that, right?
Can you hear me? I've been hearing a lot of niggas claim the best rapper alive. Two things can be true, that's a factual lie. I'm that actual guy with a capital Y. Flow slicker than a nigga with the patch on his eye. Scared of our good brother in that Grand National. Why? Shoulda knew you and that La Honda was gonna have to collide. Let's take this magic.
Okay, you were scared of that good brother in that Grand National. and you should have known that you and that little Honda was gonna have to collide. So he's saying that J. Cole was scared of Kendrick because the Grand National was representative, right? Kendrick had the Grand National car on the GNX album cover, right? So that's representative of Kendrick, and we know that J. Cole has been doing a little tour around the U.S. with a Honda Civic, you know what I mean? So, obviously to play on cars, Grand National versus the Honda, but in reference to J. Cole and Kendrick, you were scared of him. You knew at some point that y'all was going to have to collide, but you didn't want the smoke is what CyHi is saying. And he said two things can be true. He said something about the greatest rapper alive. Two things can be true, and that's an actual lie. So I thought that was slick. Yeah, he rapping. Let me keep going.
Nigga with the patch on his eye. Scared of our good brother in that Grand National. Why? Shoulda knew you and that La Honda was gonna have to collide. Let's take this magical ride back to the shy. The FOI, don't know how many bows I actually tied. I felt like Farrakhan, Saran wrapping the pie. And my shit hit like crack when it's dry. So high you can hit it once and pass it to God. I give off that human trafficking vibe. Cause I had that boy and the girl in the back of a Dodge. I did what I had to survive. Can't sit with my
that boy and the girl. He said I give off that human trafficking vibe because I had that boy and that girl in the back of a Dodge. That was crazy. That was crazy. So what he's saying, when you think of human trafficking, you think of kids being, stolen or kidnapped, and they're in the back of a car, right? A boy and a girl, right? But he's talking about cocaine. I had that boy and that girl in the trunk of my car, right? So I give off that human trafficking vibe, but he's talking about drug trafficking using human trafficking, boy and girl. That was hard. Then he said, what did he say about the FOI?
Ran wrapping the pie, and my shit hit like crack. Quicker than the nigga with the patch on his eye. Scared of our good brother in that Grand National. Why? Shoulda knew you and that La Honda was gonna have to collide. Let's take this magical ride back to the shy. The FOI, don't know how many bows I actually tied. I felt like Farrakhan, Saran wrapping the pie.
Yeah, that was hard too. I felt like Farrakhan, Saran wrapping the pie, right? Because he said something about the FOI, which is the bow tie for the Nation of Islam, right? The FOI bow tie. I think he's talking about bow tying keys is what he's saying, right? You don't know how many bow ties. What did he say?
Actually, you and that La Honda was gonna have to collide. Let's take this magical ride back to the shy. The FOI, don't know how many bows I actually tied.
Yeah, the FOI, don't know how many bows I actually tied. So he's referencing the FOI bow tie from the Nation of Islam, the enforcers or what have you, right? Or the higher, I don't know, the hierarchy of the Nation of Islam, but there's a certain sect of them that wear suits with bow ties, the FOI bow tie. But they don't know how many, how many bows I had to tie though. So I think he's talking about tying up bricks with like a bow, cocaine. But also he said, I feel like Farrakhan's Saran wrapping a pie. So again, that's another drug reference, right? When you think of pies, we're talking about kilos, you know what I'm saying? But they call them pies. That's slang for, kilo. Pies are slang for kilos of drugs, right? So I felt like Farrakhan, Saran wrapping a pie. And then also the Nation of Islam, they're known for giving out bean pies, right? So that's a, little slick play there. That's dope.
Back to the shy, the FOI, don't know how many bows I actually tied. I felt like Farrakhan, Saran wrapping the pie. And my shit hit like crack when it's dry. So high you can hit it once and pass it to God. I give off that human trafficking vibe. Cause I had that boy and the girl in the back of a Dodge. I did what I had to survive. Can't sit with my back to the door, that's my tactical side. The AK rushing like a halfback in the eye. Armed with a shotgun cause you passed the hauncher. I should've stayed in school, but at this juncture, I got
the AK rushing, like, what do you say? The AK is rushing like a running back in the eye. That was crazy. So the AK, AK-47, which is a Russian assault rifle, is like a running back in the eye. The AK is I'm letting the AK off, right? Like Russian, but he's also referencing it's a football play, an I formation in football. Running, which is for the most part a running back is in the I formation. They're usually going to get a handoff in that formation. So running back in an I is Russian, or the AK is Russian, meaning it's a reference to the gun being a Russian gun. But that was slick as hell. Yeah, yeah.
Armed with a shotgun cause you passed the hauncher. I should've stayed in school, but at this juncture.
So he said armed with a shotgun cause your past will haunt you. So what he's saying is I stay armed up. I stay armed with a shotgun because my past can catch up to me, right? It'll haunt you. But I still think that that's a play off of it's an extension of the football little scheme. It's a little small scheme there, right? I formation, but in the shotgun pass, will haunt you. You know what I mean? Maybe hunching to get the, you know what I mean? Maybe a quarterback hunching to get a ball in a shotgun. Well, if it's in a shotgun formation, it really wouldn't be hunching over or whatever. But anyways, I still think that that's a reference to the an extension of the football bar, man, with the Russian joint with the I formation. That was hard though.
Back in the eye, armed with a shotgun, cause you passed the huncher. I should've stayed in school, but at this juncture, I got $10 bags, fat as Action Bronson. And I wanna rap, but I lack the sponsors. And half of you niggas never had the hunger to pass the trauma. I'm in the trap passing Fonta, on the sun on ashwagandha. I'm used to getting stabbed in the back, it feel like acupuncture. Ever been back to back to back with Hondas? 2 of them decoys, 1 of them packed with ganja.
I'm used to getting stabbed in the back, it feel like acupuncture. It's like acupuncture. Like I'm used to getting betrayed. When you think of someone being stabbed in the back, they're used to being betrayed. You know what I mean? So I've been betrayed so much, a stab in the back is basically like getting a small little prick at this point, right? Acupuncture is when they put needles and, you know, on your skin, right? For healing purposes, right? So it's like a stab in the back to me at this point just feels like a little acupuncture. It's nothing to me. It's nothing for me at this point, man. I'm so used to it. That was hard. But again, stabbing in the relation is a knife stab versus a prick from a needle. That's slick.
Back, it feel like acupuncture. Ever been back to back to back with Hondas? 2 of them decoys, 1 of them packed with ganja. I came back just to crash the summer. I put more fire on wax than Kwanzaa, cause whatever Hebrew can be used by the bartender. Mazel tov, shots through the glass of the car windshield. That might have went over your young, cause it might be the only event.
Hold on.
Shots through the glass.
Wait. I gotta hear that again. What did he say about the Hebrew? Let me hear that again. That was tough.
Crash the summer. I put more fire on wax than Kwanzaa, cause whatever Hebrew can be used by the bartender. Mazel tov, shots through the glass of the car windshield.
Okay, that was hard. Okay, so whatever Hebrew, first of all, he said, I put more fire on wax than Kwanzaa. So when you think of lighting candles for Kwanzaa, right, which is essentially, you know, which is an African holiday. But how did he put that? I know where he's going with the Mazel Tov glass or whatever the case may be, right? Let me pull it back, because that Kwanzaa, then he said, what did he say? Mazel Tov, right? Obviously, it's a play on the Jewish religion. Let me pull that back though, because he put that together real slick.
That might have went over your yarmulke. Ever been back to back to back with Hondas? 2 of them decoys, 1 of them packed with ganja. I came back just to crash the summer. I put more fire on wax than Kwanzaa, cause whatever Hebrew can be used by the bartender. Mazel tov, shots through the glass of the car windshield.
Okay. So whatever Hebrew can be used by the bartender, Mazel Tov, shots through the glass of the car window, right? Or windshield. Hebrew, again, religious play, right? With a Jewish religious play, Hebrews, and then shots through the glass, Mazel Tov. I think it's like a congratulations or something like that, right? A celebratory thing within the Jewish religion when they say Mazel Tov, right? And I think when they say that, they're raising a glass, even though I thought that was L'chaim. I thought L'chaim is what you said when you raise your glass, but I could be wrong. Jewish people, help me out. I'm sorry if I'm wrong, because I know that people are sensitive about things like that. But Mazel Tov, hey, congratulations, and you're raising glass, shots of alcohol in a glass, right? So I think that's the connection, right? But shots through the glass of the car windshield, you know what I'm saying? So Mazel Tov, right? Again, Hebrew play. Yeah, slick. Hold on, let me finish it up.
I put more fire on wax than Kwanzaa, cause whatever Hebrew can be used by the bartender. Mazel tov, shots through the glass of the car windshield.
Okay, but also whatever Hebrew can be used by the bartender. So again, Hebrew, as I mentioned, but whatever he's brewing can be used by the bartender. So I think that's his way of saying, I could be wrong, you know what I'm saying? But whatever he has brewing, I can use against him, maybe. You know what I mean? Or maybe he's, you know, like I'm assuming J. Cole. So whatever he has brewing up can be used by the bartender, the dude with bars, but obviously bartender as in shots that, you know, would be poured at a bar mitzvah of sorts, right? But yeah, so I'm trying to connect the Hebrew. So whatever Hebrew, is he saying J. Cole, whatever he's brewing up, or is CyHi saying whatever Hebrew, whatever I'm brewing up can be used by the bartender? Anyways, I wanted to point that out as well.
Bartender, Mazel tov, shots through the glass of the car windshield. That might have went over your yarmulke, cause Hanukkah might be the only event my bars miss for. And these niggas I'm with, I'm not restless. Trust me, they done shot it.
that might have went over your yarmulke. So we're in the scheming. He's scheming, not from a syllabic, a multi-syllabic scheme format, scheming within a metaphor, right? Right, scheming using Jewish themes, right? So that might have went over your yarmulke. That might have went over your head, because Hanukkah is the only thing that my bars mitz for. I think my bars, and he's saying it went over your head, so that's the only, I guess, way that my bars would go over anyone's head is during Hanukkah. Let me listen to that again because I want to make sure that makes sense, because that could be one of those bars that sounds harder than what it is, because I get what he's saying, bars mitzvah, but bars mitzvah, I know you're saying bar mitzvah as in the coming of age Jewish celebration for younger, Jewish kids as they're becoming men. But are you saying bars missed when you're saying it went over the yarmulke? Let me pull it back. Hold on.
That might have went over your yarmulke, cause Hanukkah might be the only event my bars miss for. And these niggas I'm with.
So Hanukkah might be the only event my bars miss for. So again, Hanukkah, bar mitzvah is Hanukkah celebration, bar mitzvah, right? Jewish theme. My bars miss for. That's the only event, I guess, that that people would result in people missing my bars, where my bars wouldn't hit, I think is what he's saying. I get what he's trying to do, but I don't know if that lands, but I could be wrong. First listening, I could be off on that, but I don't know if that lands. It sounds hard, but I don't know if he connected that in a crazy way. But it sounds super hard, though. I get what he's doing with the scheming of, Jewish religion and all that other stuff and connecting those themes, but does it really hit and make sense is what I'm trying to gather. But I'll think about that a little bit more. Let's keep going.
Event my bars miss for. And these niggas I'm with are not wrestlers. Trust me, they done shot at more legs than Brock Lesnar. Murder for hire to turn.
Yeah, these dudes that I'm with are not wrestlers. They didn't shot at more legs than Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar was an actual wrestler, right? I think WWF, and I think he actually was a real wrestler as well. And, in wrestling, they shoot at your legs. They try to grab your legs to take you down. But he's saying his dudes are not wrestlers. They're shooting with a gun at your legs. They're not wrestlers, and then he references Brock Lesnar to kind of tie it together. That was cool.
Wrestlers, trust me, they done shot at more legs than Brock Lesnar. Murder for hire, they're turning to cross-dressers. And if they got to bring them alive, it costs extra.
Murder for hire. He said murder for hire. They'll turn into cross-dressers. And if they got to bring them alive, it costs extra. So they'll do whatever to, murder for hire. I mean, it's somebody you pay money to murder people, right? So they will dress up as women to fool, the op or whatever the case may be, just to get the body. You know what I'm saying? And if you got to bring them alive, it costs extra. You know what I mean? So these are the type of dudes he's dealing with. You know what I mean? They're willing to take it to that level. They'll dress up like a woman as an assassin, but you dressed up like a woman. Okay, cool.
Cross-dressers, and if they got to bring them alive, it costs extra. If they gotta bring them alive, it costs extra. That's what I call a small gesture. That's to all of you Pondexters. The flow is chart-topping, heart-throbbing, the dog's barking. Sparks popping, 40 cacao like dark chocolate. Call God and he don't answer, they call blocking. Out of options, draw Glock and start swapping.
He said call God, he don't answer, he's call blocking. But then he said the 40 cacao like dark chocolate, so the 40 cow, I think he's saying cow, 40 cow is popping off, right? I think he's describing like a shootout or something like that, like dark chocolate. We know the cacao bean makes chocolate. So 40 cacao like dark chocolate, but the 40 cow is letting off, basically, is what he's saying. Let me pull it back.
The dog's barking, sparks popping, 40 cacao like dark chocolate. Call God and he don't answer, they call blocking.
Yeah, call God and he don't answer, he call blocking. So God ain't on your side. He can't save you. So I think he's describing like a real life street situation where there's a shootout and he's trying to get out of it. Call God, right? You're praying for God to help you. So it's a play on calling someone and they can put you on call block. Basically his way of saying, I'm praying to God to help me, but he ain't answering. You know what I'm saying? He can't get me out of this situation.
That's to all of you Pondexters. The flow is chart-topping, heart-throbbing, the dog's barking. Sparks popping, 40 cacao like dark chocolate. Call God and he don't answer, they call blocking. Out of options, draw Glock and start swapping. Gunpowder, the gunfire, the harmonics. So multiple shots going off, it's called violence. Bullets.
Scheme work, man. The scheme work, and just how slick the wordplay was, right? When he said the gun violence, the gunshots is harmonics, right? Making musical harmony, right? Then he said he shots run out or something like that. The gun swapping. What did he say? Damn, Cy.
So they call blocking. Out of options, draw Glock, then start swapping. Gunpowder, the gunfire.
Yeah, out of options, draw a Glock and start swapping. You know me, swap. You know me, changing clips out, right? You're running out of bullets, man. So again, he's describing like a shootout. You know what I mean? You're running out of bullets, I guess, and you start swapping the clips or whatever the case may be, or changing guns, swapping out, right? Yeah, that's hard. And then he said the gun sounds is harmonics, right? That was slick.
Out of options, draw Glock, then start swapping. Gunpowder, the gunfire, the harmonics. So multiple shots going off, it's called violence. Bullets keep passing me by, I'm farsighted. The cops watch as I'm stuck lodged in a tree. And my truck lit up like the city they caught pocking.
The Far Side reference was slick, right? Bullets keep on passing me by, I'm farsighted, I think is what he said. I don't know if he's talking about obviously he's saying the bullets are wheezing by him, right? And they keep passing him. He's not getting hit with bullets coming his way. I think he's talking about like a shootout, like I said, and he said something about the cops later on, where he was like lodged in a tree, stuck in a tree somewhere behind a tree as the cops are running down on him and bullets are coming his direction, right? So I think he's describing a scene here. But he also referenced the group Farside, who made the song Passing Me By. You know what I mean? Keeps on passing me by. Shout out to Farside. But farsightedness also, I think, is a play, right? He's farsighted, like he could see from far, right? He's farsighted, but the bullets are missing him closely. I think it's a reference to being farsighted as well in terms of vision. But yeah, dope. Hold on.
Shots going off, it's called violence. Bullets keep passing me by, I'm farsighted. The cops watch as I'm stuck lodged in a tree. And my truck lit up like the city they caught pocket.
Yeah. And my truck lit up like the city they called Pocket. My city. You know what I'm saying? Las Vegas, right? You know, he's talking about Tupac with the city that he was, you know, the city that he was murdered in, unfortunately, right? But he was murdered in Las Vegas. It's lit up, right? You know, Vegas is known for the bright lights. So, but they lit his car up, though. You know what I'm saying? I think is what he's saying. They shot his car up, but lit up as in Vegas as well. Yeah, that was slick.
Bullets keep passing me by, I'm farsighted. The cops watch as I'm stuck lodged in a tree. And my truck lit up like the city they caught pocket. Probably hoping to find some narcotics. I get emotional talking about it, I'm Carl Thomas. Okay, this might be off topic, but tell St. John that them raps just ain't that jaw dropping. You forgot I still owe you for false prophets. I rap punch.
Okay. I'm seeing the J. Cole play, because he wasn't really going too crazy. I know he mentioned the fall off earlier, but I wasn't seeing too much on J. Cole. I thought this was going to be one of those situations where it was a slight name, a slight little shot, but people over exaggerated. This is a direct shot to J. Cole here. But what did he say? I get emotional when I think about all of the drama and the past trauma from the streets or whatever. And he mentioned Carl Thomas. Carl Thomas is an R&B singer, and he made the song I'm Emotional, right? Shout out to Carl Thomas. And then he said, let me pull it back a little bit. He said, tell St. John. We know J. Cole went to the college, St. John's, right?
Probably hoping to find some narcotics. I get emotional talking about it, I'm Carl Thomas. Okay, this might be off topic, but tell St. John that them raps just ain't that jaw dropping. You forgot I still owe you for false prophets.
That was hard, though. Tell St. John that them raps ain't even that jaw dropping. Your raps, J. Cole, your raps ain't that crazy, man, is what CyHi is saying. He said, you forgot I still owe you for false prophets. That was hard. What he's saying is I still owe you. I'm defending Kanye because, you know, J. Cole is known that he was talking about Kanye in the song False Prophets, right? So he's saying I'm sticking up for my man, for Kanye. You know what I mean? You were talking slick in that song. That song was made in 16, I guess, something like that. So it's been a very long time. We're going on 10 years, I guess, since that song was made. I still owe you for that little slick shot that you sent at my man. You know what I'm saying? But he also saying I still owe you for false prophets. I think that's a wordplay as well. Like you made money off of dissing Kanye. So the prophets are false. The prophets they come from nonsense, right? For dissing somebody that inspired you, right? So those are false prophets. That's not real. You know what I'm saying? That's not legitimate money. I think it's another play there. Okay. And again, he's referencing the college that J. Cole went to when he said, tell St. John that them raps ain't that jaw dropping. All right.
This might be off topic, but tell St. John that them raps just ain't that jaw dropping. You forgot I still owe you for false prophets. I rap punches that's hard as Bernard Hopkins. And ain't no yes men over here, my dog, stop it. We like the band on the Titanic. We going down with the ship before we go jumping off it. So watch your...
So that's okay. So he's confirming that it's definitely J. Cole here that we're talking about, right? And false prophets thing, J. Cole referenced that implied that Ye had a lot of yes men around him who were scared to kind of help him, get through whatever, you know what I mean? Or help him navigate, how to speak in public or whatever, how to carry himself, right? So he had a lot of yes men around him. And I think CyHi is he took that personally because he was around Kanye. He's like, so ain't no yes men over here, dog, stop it. You know what I mean, is what he's saying. So, and I think he said, if you go down and we like the band at the Titanic, if we go down with the ship, we're willing to go down with the ship, essentially, like the band on Titanic, meaning like Kanye is my man, I'm riding for him. If he goes down, then we all go down, right? It's like a team sort of situation. So, okay.
Here, my dog, stop it. We like the band on the Titanic. We going down with the ship before we go jumping off it. So watch your mouth before you go over talking. It's cool till you run into one of his underbosses. You got one book and thought you could run to Boston. I had a trap, one in Charlotte and one in Charleston. But have you ever read?
Interesting. So, he said before you go talk to, if you say something about Kanye, you'll run into one of his underbosses. So he's acknowledging himself. I'm one of the underbosses for Kanye. We know CyHi and all that. He's with good music and his ghost written for Kanye and a lot of other people as well. So, watch your mouth. You know what I'm saying? Because one of his soldiers, like me, is on go. You know what I mean? It took you a little while though, CyHi. You know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, that's his reference to, again, he's referencing himself as being an underboss. Then he said, I got two traps, one in Charlotte and one in Charleston. I think that's, we know that J. Cole is from, he's from North Carolina. We know Charlotte is a city in North Carolina. I think that's CyHi's way of saying, I get busy in where you from. I got more work. I got work in the area you from, right? Maybe I got soldiers in that area, Charleston, all the way from Charleston to Charlotte, right? I got soldiers and I got work and I've been active in your area. You know what I'm saying? So interesting. You know what I mean? And then, he said something else as well. Let me pull it back.
You go over talking, it's cool till you run into one of his underbosses. You got one book and thought you could run to Boston. I had a trap, one in Charlotte and one in Charleston.
Yeah, you got one book and thought you can run to Boston. That's a Spades reference, right? Run to Boston. That's like a risky ass move in Spades. I'm not the expert in Spades. It's been a while, but I think Boston is like a highly aggressive, risky ass move in Spades. So you got one book and thought you can run to Boston. What did he say before that, though? I thought he said something leading into that. Let me pull it back.
Be off topic, but tell St. John that them raps just ain't that jaw dropping. You forgot I still owe you for false prophets. I rap punches that's hard as Bernard Hopkins. And ain't no yes men over here, my dog, stop it. We like the band on the Titanic. We going down with the ship before we go jumping off it. So watch your mouth before you go over talking. It's cool till you run into one of his underbosses. You got one book and thought you could run to Boston. I had
one book and thought you can run to Boston. So I'm trying to put that together, right? I get where he's going with that, right? Again, it's a reference to a Spades play. You got a book like in the games of Spades. Run to Boston is like a high, risky ass move that, it's like a high risk, high reward kind of move that can win you the game, basically, right? So what was J. Cole's high risk, high reward move? Dissing Kanye? You know what I'm saying? You thought you got one book and thought you can run to Boston, or maybe there's a Boston play that I'm missing. But maybe he's saying dissing Kanye. You thought that, you thought you can just run the game based off of just dissing one of your idols, one of the biggest stars in the game. You thought you're going to be able to get away with that is what he's saying? Or is he tying St. John, false prophets? Anyways, I got to go back to that line. You know what I'm saying? But anybody, Spades players, feel free to break that line down. But I'm not as familiar with Spades and how he's tying that to run a Boston. How does that relate to J. Cole? Having a high stakes move in Spades. How is that related to what J. Cole did? Is he, again, he's here because we're here with CyHi dissing J. Cole because, J. Cole was talking about Kanye. So is that run a Boston, that high stakes move, dissing Kanye West? Like you got, you know what I'm saying? You got one book, right? What's that book? Is the book J. Cole's? Yeah, I'm gonna think about that and go back to that line. That's interesting though.
Titanic, we going down with the ship before we go jumping off it. So watch your mouth before you go over talking. It's cool till you run into one of his underbosses. You got one book and thought you could run to Boston. I had a trap, one in Charlotte and one in Charleston. But have you ever read the book of Jeremiah? Cause when homie dropped, y'all was looking terrified. No pun intended, I'll tear your squad into pieces. Furniture moving like Jamiroquai's.
Yeah, hard, no pun intended. You know, I'll tear your squad to pieces, moving furniture like Jamiroquai. I think he's referencing, what's the video where Jamiroquai was, the furniture was moving around. It's a specific video. I forgot the name of the song, but in the artist's name is Jamiroquai. He's a sort of neo soul pop kind of singer, right? Electronic and all that other stuff. Well, he had a song, or a video rather, where his furniture was moving in the video. So he's referencing that. But I tear your squad, no pun intended. Like, no pun intended is just, you know, you're saying no joking. I will tear your squad up, right? But he's referencing the rap group Terror Squad. I'll tear your squad into pieces, basically. I'll destroy your whole team. Let me pull it back.
Charlotte and one in Charleston. But have you ever read the book of Jeremiah? Cause when homie dropped, y'all was looking terrified.
Have you ever read the book of Jeremiah? I need to brush up on that. What happened in the book of Jeremiah that would lead him to say, yo, because when homie dropped, y'all was looking terrified. I think he's referencing, obviously, Kendrick. So when Kendrick dropped, he had y'all shook, right? Because, you know, again, I think it's a reference back to J. Cole apologized. So when homie dropped, y'all was looking terrified, like you ain't want to smoke. But what happened in the book of Jeremiah? Like, refresh my memory. You know what I'm saying? On that. Did something something obviously dropped in the book of Jeremiah. Something happened that caused, you know, the world to be terrified, right? Or, you know, something like that. So, you know, remind me of that.
Cause when homie dropped, y'all was looking terrified. No pun intended, I'll tear your squad into pieces. Furniture moving like Jamiroquai's. Open heart surgery, you getting sterilized. You was a spoiled kid, so I can't spit a rod. And I done seen real killers get set inside of.
You was a spoiled kid, so I can't spare to rot? What did he say? Spoiled rotten is what he's saying? Spoiled kid, so I can't spare to rot?
Pieces, furniture moving like Jamiroquai's. Open heart surgery, you getting sterilized. You was a spoiled kid, so I can't spit a rod. And I done seen real killers.
Spare the rod. Spare the rod. Spare the rod, like the gun? I can't spare the rod? Or rotten? Is he tying that in? Yeah, I'm not hearing what he's saying with that. Obviously, he's saying J. Cole was a privileged kid. He was spoiled. I don't know if he's saying spoiled rotten. The way it sounds, it's hard to hear what he's saying. You know what I'm saying? But or like I can't spare the gun, like I can't spare the rod. Yeah, I'm not sure what he's saying there.
Surgery, you getting sterilized. You was a spoiled kid, so I can't spit a rod. And I done seen real killers get set inside a wheelchair, all because they told her paralyzed. Ever used the fish scale to wear a square?
I done seen real killers get sat inside a wheelchair, all because they told her paralyzed. So when you're in a wheelchair, you're paralyzed. But I've seen real killers get put in a wheelchair because they told lies, right? Paralyzed. That was slick. That was hard.
Out a wheelchair, all because they told her paralyzed. Ever used the fish scale to wear a square car? In the day I sold 10 bells, man, I swear to God. My plug made us write to him on a piece of paper, cause he afraid of niggas wearing wires. So many stories, man, I can't retire from moving China White out the Shangri-La. What I'm saying, I grew up around some dangerous guys, famous for committing some heinous crimes. It can get dark quick, I'm on daylight savings time. You ever got a toothbrush and had to shave it down? The principal told my mama I should've stayed behind. 20 years later, I got one of the greatest minds. I know it ain't my business, but I made it mine. Ain't no statute of limitations on my latest rhymes. And here's my favorite line. If you heard that I'm a silver spoon, nigga, just know I got a nickel-plated knife.
That was hard. He said it. Oh.
Rap.
He said it could get dark quick. I'm on daylight savings time. You know, daylight savings time, you know, it gets darker outside quick with daylight savings. But it could get dark, though. It could get real spooky for you, J. Cole, very quickly. You know what I'm saying? If you get in the ring with me is what he's saying. But also, I like the way he ended it, right? What did he say? It ain't my business, but I made it mine.
David Dime. The principal told my mama I should've stayed behind. 20 years later, I got one of the greatest minds. I know it ain't my business, but I made it mine. Ain't no statute of limitations on my latest rhymes. And here's my favorite line.
So I know it ain't my business, but I made it mine. Ain't no statute of limitations on something about my rhymes, right? Ain't no statute of limitations for the smoke, you know? So I think that's his way of addressing the fact that people are saying like, damn, man, this shit late as hell. You know what I'm saying? J. Cole made the False Prophet song years ago. You just doing this for clout. You know what I'm saying? So this, and I'm sure he is. I mean, let's keep it real. Yes, you are. Yeah, CyHi is doing this for clout. But also, I'm sure that he felt the way about that at the time. But just doing it 10 years later, 9 years later, or whatever, is a little like, come on, G. You know, but that's his way of addressing it, at least. Like, you know, ain't no statute of limitations for the smoke. You know what I'm saying? So I just woke up and felt dangerous today, 10 years later. You know what I mean? Let me see.
I had to shave it down. The principal told my mama I should have stayed behind. 20 years later, I got one of the greatest minds. I know it ain't my business, but I made it mine. Ain't no statute of limitations on my latest rhymes. And here's my favorite line. If you heard that I'm a silver spoon, nigga, just know I got a nickel-plated nine.
If you heard that I'm a silver spoon, just know I have a nickel-plated nine. I think that's his way of saying if you heard that I'm not from the streets, when someone says you grew up with a silver spoon, that means you grew up privileged. So he's saying if you heard I had a silver spoon in my mouth, just know that they must be talking about a nickel-plated nine. That's just his way of saying I come from the streets. I don't come from privilege, right? Obviously, nickel is silver. Nickel-plated nine, a gun is silver. So they mean that. So, okay, yeah, he crushed that, though. CyHi is nice. We all know that CyHi gets busy, man. I will say that, here's the thing. CyHi, I think, is a very high-risk, low-reward situation for J. Cole. You know what I'm saying? And everybody's going to be like, oh, George, it's the spirit of hip-hop, man. Stop it, you know. Who cares if J. Cole's the bigger artist and yada, yada. It shouldn't matter. It used to be that way. And I think what people need to realize, man, is that hip-hop's changed now. You know, these fans will create dark web Reddit pages to try to destroy a man's life. That's where we are now. So engaging in battle rap is actually very dangerous for your career, not even because of what the rapper does, because of what the fans do. You know what I mean? We just saw Michael Eric Dyson or something like that say have some critiques for Kendrick, and then, you know, his fans went back and said, didn't you have a sexual assault case at Georgetown? All this wild shit. Like, it's just fans are willing to go to crazy depths to try to destroy your life instead of just enjoying the fact that these guys are lyrically sparring each other and appreciating both. Even if you think someone won, appreciate what they both brought to the table. It's entertainment. But I feel like people take it so personally, and then they just become detectives and they're going to crazy lengths to try to ruin people's lives when you should be appreciating and enjoying the art form. So I feel like Cole, any type of addressing of anyone coming at you, I don't think it's worth it anymore. I don't think it's relevant and worth it and makes sense anymore. I think the game has changed and people are corny and they're groupies now, and, you know, and weird chatty patties and all this other stuff. So you can't just engage with somebody on some like, yo, out still sharp and still, I want to show you that I'm better than you anymore. It's too many working pieces now. So I don't think J. Cole should respond for that reason. For what? You know what I'm saying? And I also think that, listen, J. Cole is one of the greatest rappers ever. If we're talking about greatness as an overall rapper, I think that J. Cole is the overall greater rapper. I think he will go down in history as the overall greater rapper, not just because he's more popular, but because I think J. Cole is a better songwriter. I think he's a little bit more impressive with his schemes in terms of, you know, patterns within schemes, not just metaphor schemes, but just patterns in terms of how he puts his schemes together. And I think he just makes more powerful, impactful music than CyHi. And he raps and he has bars too. But if we talking pure lyricism, yeah, if I'm on J. Cole's team, I'm gonna act like we Stevie Wonder, man. You know what I'm saying? You know, that's it. You know, because I love her. You know what I'm saying? You look out to the distance like Stevie. Don't act like you never heard this shit before. You know what I'm saying? Because pure lyricism, yeah, CyHi is different, man. It doesn't mean that Cole can't win. I just think it's a tall order for him to be able to deal with CyHi. This is what CyHi does, man. He is a pure, extremely talented wordsmith. And it's a tough ask. I think J. Cole's a more complete rapper, but I think CyHi purely battle rapping, it's a tall order for Cole. So I just don't think he has much to gain. Can he win? He can win. He can angle it a little bit, and J. Cole does have enough in terms of talent with bars to potentially, you know, to win a match with CyHi. It's not impossible, but it's a tall order. It's high risk, low reward. Just for what? Just for people to prey on your downfall. There's fans that are part of fan bases that just want you to lose, and they can't wait to salute the underdog and go for the underdog just to take you down. It's just not worth it anymore, in my opinion. But CyHi is nice, and he killed that. I need to go back to that Boston book line, though. You know what I'm saying? And you run a Boston line, and then also the bar mitzvah. I need to make sense of that line, but I'll kind of revisit that when I cut the cameras off. But for the most part, I'm catching the bars, man. He got busy. There's a lot of slick shit in here, a lot of punches, entendres, and yeah, he did his thing, man. Yeah, I'm actually happy I did that because the beef shit is just ridiculous. But CyHi is so talented that he makes it fun to really to kind of review his music because that his pen is gonna be sharp. So. Salute to CyHi. Thank you to everybody that requested that one. That's it. Give me more requests, man. Join my Instagram. That's the best place to send requests to me. Just DM me. But also, obviously, in the comment section as well. And that's it. It's George with Rhyme Rate. I'm out.